Welcome back to LinuxGameCast Weekly, the show that covers the latest Linux gaming news, reviews, how-tos, and most importantly, whatever the hell else we come up with. This week, Vanguard finally arrives for Linux in the form of a wine wrapper. Ah, damn. And prepare your britches, because we're going to talk about that YouTube thing.
British Telecom sues Valve because apparently they invented X Windows, and The Witcher 3 is never coming to Linux, much to the surprise of no one.
Rocket League is totally coming, you guys, as a beta after 4 official delays and 3 months of silence. Confirmation bias is real. But then again, expecting a good CPU out of AMD at this point is just wishful thinking.
I'm Vince Stone here at LGC Actual, switching the bits as I'm doing now, doing all this nightmare fuel under the Linux, joined every week, by our tame Canadian podcaster up north, Mr. Sleepy Pants.
Baby needs a nap.
And all the way from Space Portugal at 2:30 in the morning.
Hello! Yes, I slept too much. It's the other way around.
Portuguese trumpet, and together with Shatrum Dynamic, joining us live, helping us form that special little band known as Cocaine Voltron. Before we get started, we like to see what's going on in each other's life organs, as is our tradition. Jordan, you did the coolest shit this week, so you start.
All right, so it's Fan Expo this week, which means it's the one of the couple conventions I go to on a yearly basis. This year I got to do some cool shit. I finally got around to testing out the Oculus Rift, so I finally got face fucked by a toaster. It is my one comment about it is it's really fucking tight on my head, like uncomfortably tight. The weight was never an issue, just it's trying to squeeze my head open to get at the delicious fruit filling. Also, Alex Kingston says hi.
What's up, Pedro?
I'm back, bitches.
Back from the dead.
Yeah, sort of, kind of. I may or may not have been kidnapped, but yeah, no, I am genuinely back and trying my worst to provide a drunken show for you all.
Sounds pretty neat. The only thing I was a bit upset about is United States Postal System stupid monkey ass. That's one thing I just a bit miffed. I mean, simply put, I mean, their concept of delivery confirmation is meaningless. It doesn't matter.
Ooh, story time.
I ordered some chemicals, right? And
I have to say,
they're going to come in this upcoming Tuesday. And today I was in the studio and it beep, pops up and I was like, oh, it's going to arrive today. I got that like 10. I was like, So I pulled off a couple of my ad option reads. I was like, all right. It's like, Terry, you want to get out of here early? He's like, fuck yeah, it's game day. So, sports ball. And he knows, and I know back to the house because you can never tell with a USPS because they have their own little miniature wheel of booga booga inside their vehicles of, are they just going to put it in that box at the end of your driveway, or they can leave it in front of your door, or require a signature? Fucking knows. I mean, it's always fun. And I wanted to get there just in case they wanted to do the signature thing. Beat them home. Can't go anywhere. I'm just waiting because, of course, it's going to be a signature. They show up and just put paper in there and driving. And I was like, oh, I guess it will be Tuesday. Thanks.
So they just left like the missed delivery thing, or
no, they didn't do anything. It's just a GPS thing that dinged off, and I'm sitting here. It's like, man, Heisenvin really wanted to cook, but that didn't happen. But can we cook the horse this week, J-Man?
I mean, I prefer eating it raw. You get more of the flavor, but that's what you get with the Steamers update. All right.
Well, someone else figured out that not every game that promised a Linux version at some point in time actually delivered. Yep, the fine folks at PC World made an article entitled Broken Promises, Games That Never Made It to SteamOS and Linux. And they mentioned a few, like The Witcher 3, let's see, what else? Batman Arkham Knight,
Evolve.
Street Fighter 5, and Evolve, yes. Total War Rome 2, Gauntlet, Project Cars, and a couple others. Yeah, so they...
I mean, this isn't a 2-hour show.
Few.
We can't just read out the entire list.
Yeah, no, they missed a few. in that article.
Oh yeah, Brad left out a couple, but there was that other thing. There'll be a link in the show notes along with everything else. That there's a Steam group of like broken promises made of penguin hearts and tears.
It's a curation group, actually. I think.
Yeah.
I know. It's just straight up.
They should definitely rename it to whatever I just said, though. And then...
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, yeah, Ben, you bring up a really good point in the show notes, though, because I mean, supporting Linux is a tricky situation. The chicken and the egg problem has sort of gone away insofar as Valve does have support for Linux, and a lot of engines do these days. But what the worst part is when developers promise or imply upcoming Linux support and don't deliver. And then,
well, yeah, I mean, that's definitely the real burn is that silence from developers, because they'll drop it out and they're just radio silence. And we're just sitting there going, we're doing this too long. We're like, whatever.
Like Darksiders. Right. Mad Max.
But no, man, I mean, that
Carmageddon?
actually is not definitely a good thing. I mean, maintaining that 10% hope, that something might get released eventually, it does more damage than them just coming out. Like, you got to give credit, to at least Farrell. Farrell's like, this thing's canceled with the Batman thing. And just giving us a legit no. It's been canceled. Chill with it and quit sitting around in this perpetual maybe. And yeah, I think that would definitely be better, man.
Yeah, although one of the games on this list has some revised promises, but we'll get to that a bit later. But let's talk about everyone's favorite topic in the legal world, software patents. Because this is a story from the Register. There's also a link to ours in our show notes, covering British Telecom, that company that's been around since the 1800s, has decided that they need to squeeze Gay Ben by the balls, because apparently squeezing him by the nipples don't work. They have 4 patents that they're claiming that SteamOS Big Picture Mode and Steam Streaming have violated something of. Sorry, what?
Broadcasting.
Broadcasting. Steam Stream. It's the same shit, man. It doesn't matter. But anyways, so these patents are incredibly broad. The one that sticks out to me, though, is apparently the broadcasting counts as a multi-user display system, which apparently they own the patent on because they invented the X window system, from 1981-ish, where... I don't know. And anytime you bring up like software patents from a telecom company, they're just like these horrifically broad, overarching patents that they're just going to try and make their case.
We're talking about BT, British Telecom, not the. Wait, they were with the same people that tried to sue Prodigy in 2002 because they said they invented hyperlinks. We're talking about these.
Absolutely,
yeah.
Yeah. So bad publicity is still publicity, right? That's really the only reason I can see for a company. Well, I'd never heard of it just until before now. Then Jordan was like, "Oh, it's been around since the 1800s," and I looked it up on Wikipedia and said, "Oh, okay, so they are." But I've never heard of British Telecom up until now as a Portuguese person. Never heard of them. And you're targeting the
a lot of things as a Portuguese person. Let's be real.
Yeah, probably.
Gravity.
But the targeting the money printing machine that is Valve and the amount of lawyers they can hire to sue your ass back to whatever corner of oblivion you came out of, probably not a good idea.
I don't know, man. I just see like Valve's lawyers standing over in Washington, it's the little figures on the end of this side of freedom. Like, come at me, bro. What are you gonna do,
basically.
really?
And these are all American patents that they registered, and they're taking the case to Delaware, of all places.
Of course.
Delaware, which is that place where most patent cases...
No, that's Texas. Delaware is where most places incorporate. Texas is where they litigate.
Yeah, no, here
or found churches. But
most of the patent cases in Delaware tend to end up either settled outside a court, or if they do get to court, 90% of the outcome is usually in favor of the patentee. So that's exactly why they're going to Delaware, even though they claim it's just, because they're
could be like, hey man, drop everything and we'll release Half-Life 3. Huh?
I don't know. I keep going back to these patents are so broad. They have to be prior art. Half of these relate to like basic web browsing functionality.
That's
and RSS
the dangerous thing about it. That's why I don't see BT
in the late
going
90s,
like
as opposed to when this tech was developed.
elbow deep in this because they know that these are some very broad, shady patents that could set precedent. And yeah, I think they just want a little taste, and see if. And I don't think Valve's going to give it to them. But
yeah, I mean,
I don't believe this situation is completely out of control.
No, it's probably not. But it is out of control. Nothing, because there's a new Steam controller update. I agreed with this earlier this week. It was like, oh yeah, I got a brand new firmware. Oh, I haven't had one of those in a while. Plug it in. They've added a couple features. Number one, which is something I was looking forward to. There were a couple screen caps I wanted to grab in Death Road to Canada that I was unable to do because I had to reach for the keyboard. Now, if you just hold down the Steam button on the Steam controller, it gives you an option to take a screenshot. Now, according to Pedro, you already had the ability to do that by entering.
You could already do that. It's the Steam button and the right trigger.
Listen, I don't want to have to enter the Konami code in order to just generate a screenshot. So whatever. Either way, they've also included the ability to configure chords because you got to bust out your 3 power chords if you're going to play Time of Your Life.
Wait, what do you mean configure chords? Because you said that, and I was like, wait, that's just the one chord? I mean...
chords as in like multiple button presses triggering a distinct action from the individual button presses. So I can say hold down X, the right paddle, and the trigger, and that is counted as a distinct button press. So that opens up a lot more options for how you can map fairly comprehensive controls to something as button limited as the Steam controller, which is kind of neat.
Yeah, and one of the things they didn't allow before is if you wanted to try and bind something to the Steam button itself, that one right in the middle there, you can do it. With this update, you can actually do it now. So you can have those, you can change the desktop, the screenshot shortcut to something else, or just use the now default, just hold down the Steam button. Yeah.
Speaking of Steam controller, actually this week I finally got around to setting up that GTK-based Steam controller front end, the SE controller. It's actually pretty slick.
Yeah.
No, it works reasonably well if you want to use your Steam controller with non-Steam apps like emulators or what have you. So I figured I'd give that a plug because it's a decent project. But speaking of the Steam controller, there's other products that feature areolas that aren't doing so well.
No, they're not. You may remember the Steam Boy from back in the day. Yes, it was the areola controller with the elongated shape and a screen a la PSP down the middle, which wasn't particularly good looking, even when they first announced it with that 3D rendering that they had. Now they have an actually working
so
prototype.
Awkward to hold. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's an actually 3D printed prototype that has a battery and it runs Windows. Yes.
Okay, does anyone remember the Atari Lynx?
Oh, the one that got canned?
or the Game Gear, which is they've taken several design decisions from that book.
Yeah,
to this wonderful little device. I honestly wasn't sure that I could want this thing any less, but they had to go surprise me.
Well, I mean, just the icing on. Well, there's a couple of layers of icing on this cake. Let me start by applying the first one. Is it just running Windows 10 now? Because they're like,
no, it's actually Windows 8.
Oh, Windows 8. All right, so it's Windows 8 luggable. Even though, the entire time we're sitting here screaming, it's like, that thing will not run Linux with the embedded in. Everyone's like, you don't know what you're talking about. And they were just
an APU
with these guys, right? And now they finally come out with the prototype. Like, it's running Windows, guys. So we're just like, eat it.
Yeah, no, that's looking at it, it's impractical. And not just in the physical sense either. Alienware saw exactly how bad an idea it was to release a Windows-based Steam machine they call the Alienware Alpha. How do you expect that your Game Gear level prototype of Nope is going to go?
But Pedro, you don't understand. This thing has 30 whole minutes of battery life because there's no fucking power management on that stupid APU because that GPU is running at full tilt 100% of the time.
Not just that, they're actually having issues with the AMD drivers. That's just icing on the cake. But the They couldn't even get Steam's very own on-screen keyboard that you can actually use if you're just using your thumbs on the areolas. You can just scroll through half of the keyboard one
Pedro,
and another half of the other.
Have you actually tried that one, by the way? I tried it recently. It's super fucking weird. It's like, oh man,
it works. No, it actually works. If you're sitting down on a couch and you're just using,
it's weird to type on it. That's all.
Yeah, it's weird. If you're used to an actual physical keyboard, it's going to look weird. But it works, and it works intuitively. They couldn't even get that to work. They had to plug in a USB keyboard to the prototype just so people could log in to their accounts. How?
Yeah. I mean, normally we're a fan of doubling down to hold your position, but I gotta say, cut your losses, boys. This is sunk cost fallacy 101. Stop throwing good money after bad. It's dead. Cut your losses. Go home.
Yeah, and seriously. No.
No.
They had a couple neat ideas, like switching out the touchpads with like various keypad configurations for drop-in things. You could take that, maybe apply it to a different product. This is not going anywhere. No, sir.
Nope.
Okay.
It's dead on arrival as it may be. But hey, a little sign of life from the folks at Psyonix. Rocket League is coming out with the Rumble update, and they say, along with the Rumble update, there will be a beta for the Linux and Mac versions of the game. Yes, I actually got the game a while back during some Humble Bundle that had it at the $15 level, and I thought, fine, if it ever comes out for Linux, I already have it, so might as well. But I'll actually believe that they say it's coming out on September 8th, this update, along with the beta. I'll believe it when I can actually play it. And if I can actually play it, even accounting for those known issues that they list there, I might actually buy one of the DLCs. One of them is for the DeLorean skin. I like that. Always thought it looked kind of nice. But one of the things they mentioned in the little list there, let's see, the known issues, where was it? There were intermittent blurring issues. There were the statues in Urban Central do not display correctly. What kind of shader fuckery are you doing with Unreal Engine 3 that you can't render fucking statues properly?
You know, considering it's this team, let's just be surprised that, let's just be grateful that they've managed to render something. But if this beta does launch, I really have to math it out, because I will actually have an equation for how long it takes me to go from just like, shut up and take my money, all the way to, I mean, I'll probably play it when it comes out, guys. But, Jordan, it was, correct me if I'm right here, I think this is going to be the first game to roll out that, air quotes, officially supports SteamOS and everyone else. They even said, hey, if it doesn't work, SNAFU and Dynafy, right?
Well, I mean, that's a good thing, because we're going to talk about the game we're going to talk about next, and in the CHAIRQUISITION, that linking against Steam runtime is a really good thing because it just works. You don't need any weird Ubuntu-specific libraries. You don't need any bullshit like that. You have a full mini CH root that you can compile your program against, and it will run. Use it. It's great.
And if it's not at the Steam runtime, you include it in the tar.gz that you upload to Valve servers. It's not that
exactly. Hard. Or just include it in a lib folder. I mean, yeah, you can. That's the great thing about Linux. Unlike Windows, you can't just start mixing and matching DLLs. Linux is like, yeah, give it. I'll run it. It's fine.
But back on the topic of Rocket League, I'm definitely in the camp with basically everyone else at this point. You know, send us some hate mail back. Let us know what you think. It's like, yeah, I'm going to believe that when I see it, because this has been delayed and radio silenced. Then
3 whole months of radio silence and 4 official delays. I counted those. Before the show started, I was looking up how many times the game was delayed. 4 times officially, and then it just went quiet.
You know what? I honestly would not be surprised if come September 8th. Yeah, there's some issues. We're going to have to push that back. We're not going to tell you when.
Well, that's one thing that does terrify me a little bit, when even, Valve was like, yeah, it is very much beta. So it's just going to be 4 rendered wheels running around. And
Yeah, but you know, speaking of lackluster online multiplayer.
Oh man, Worms, Weapon of Mass Destruction. Yeah, that's definitely out. It's a thing. We might even be taking a look at it a little bit later, so stick around. But Xenoside did have to ask, is there a cross-platform between PC, Mac, and Linux? And the developer just laughed, and he was like, really? It's 2016. What do you think we are? Unreal on Linux, Mac, and PC in 1999? Wait, no, he didn't say that. He said, yeah, it's something we're looking into because, wow, that's a good way to make you lose confidence in a development studio.
Yeah, no, this is a great way to shoot yourself in the foot. Like, right off the bat. Oh, the Linux version's out. There is no cross-platform multiplayer.
Well, it works so well for Company of Heroes too, right, you guys?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, totally. Just look at Feral. They're playing it every Sunday or whatever it is on Twitch. With the same person over and over again.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm just a
math is hard.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk more about this later. But yeah, it's a ghost town niche title mixed with a niche operating system. Seriously, if you're playing multiplayer Linux to Linux on such a niche title like this, it should come with a fucking fix.
Chances are you were probably a member of
pretty obscure, man. Okay, Pirates, but it's not Curse of a Raven's Cry. It looks like
no,
an actual
it isn't.
game.
It's a slightly closer up windward, as the case may be. It's The Pirate Caribbean Hunt. It's kind of weird just from the title alone, but they say, hail to the captain, sail into the heart of the Caribbean in the age of piracy. The time of black flags and white skulls, blue waves and golden opportunities. Wow, that's cliche as fuck. Hoist the Jolly Roger, again cliche as fuck, and grab the steering wheel to sail through battles and raids, ransoms, and treasures to become the Crimson King of the Antilles. Wow, that
the Crimson King. I thought you were going to go a different way with that.
Yeah, it tells you absolutely nothing about the game.
The man in black crossed the sea, and the gunslinger followed.
Yeah, no, it tells you absolutely nothing about the game, but chances are you probably already know about this game if you have, say, an Android tablet and you pay attention to the new games that get released on the Play Store, because, hey, M. Foxdog on the comments of the show notes, stick around for the Patreons, you will learn how to get access to the show notes. He actually asked, is this an Android port? Ven said, fair question, and ding ding ding, motherfucker, we have a winner, because it is also free to play on the Play Store, but it's also free to play on Steam, and that is actually a first. When it comes to like shitty Android ports showing up on Steam, they usually show up at like $10 to compensate for the microtransactions that you can't get. This game actually brought those microtransactions along with it. You can pay actual money from your Steam wallet to unlock stuff in the games.
Speaking of which, I love this like Maddie level English in this disclaimer. Requires third-party account, home net games, cross-platform cloud saves. Yes.
The whole thing. I was really surprised. I mean, it's priced to sell it free. Naturally, it initially meets you with a Unity scream of nope, but I was like, usually just close it right there. I was like, no, we're not feeling it. We're going to take a look at this. And yeah, it just kind of just drops you directly in the game. There's nothing. And I'm usually a huge fan of that, but I mean, nothing. I was like, figure it out. And well, I had I gave it a try. As pressing Alt F4 constitutes giving it a try, because that's what I did. I'm thinking about starting a new series called Game versus Alt F4. So
there'll be a few games where Alt F4 is going to lose.
All I got out of this game was I played a lot of Windward, and how come Windward, which is a 50 megabyte game,
this was only a 50 megabyte download for me.
No, this was a like 900 and something megabyte download and a 1 gigabyte plus installed game proper. Yeah,
if you
for me.
So. Okay.
Yeah, but Windward, 50 megabytes has better naval combat than this game.
Now, it's almost like the size of your executable has nothing to do with the quality of the code inside of it. Just shock.
Dun, dun, dun. Speaking of code, yeah, there's an interesting piece of code standing between this game and Linux, and it's called Wine. Vanguard Princess is now available for Linux, technically. What is it?
It's Anime Girl Tekken Tag, pretty much.
Basically in 4x3.
It's Skullgirls without the charm.
It's already a winner. Coming in at $249 at half off. Kind of excited. I was like, cool, all right. Fighting game, fighting game, racing game. You get the initials like, ooh, we need more of those on Linux. We also need more sports bowls. Let's get some of those, people.
Need more balls. Hashtag.
The review keys showed up and I was like, oh, bonus soda. Pop that in, hit play, and it said setting up wine bottle or container. And I went, close, uninstall, and that was my story of Vanguard Princess.
My story was even less than that because I didn't actually start it. I just looked at the notes and Ven was like, oh, I'm tempted to pick it up because fighting. Okay, let's send them an email. Next day, they had sent an email back with the keys. All right, there's the keys. Have at. And Ven was like, oh, is that the wine game? It's the fighting game. Yeah, that's a wine game. I did not know that.
Yeah, and we were talking about this before the show too, where it's actually less troublesome if you run Steam in Wine and install the game through that and use your distribution's Wine or one that you built yourself. Because as we saw with Flatout or Flashout or whatever the hell that game was that we got from GOG that one time, packaging Wine and then having it run on a different distribution is problematic, just a little bit.
I don't know. I just want to take a moment and just think, our crazy Russian comrades who brought Vangers back, because every time someone spools up the it's a 6-year-old Asian, I was like, and how old?
1998, bitch.
Right. Fuck off.
Or Iculus' Port of Another World, which is an even earlier game. So.
Right, man.
Yeah.
So
that's on Linux, but other games on Linux include Hack Slash and Backstab, which you may have picked up from this past Humble Bundle that ended recently. I decided to give it a shot because I like dungeon crawlers. And then I died really, really quickly because I got swarmed by a fustercluck of enemies. So I imagine playing this with multiplayer, and this is couch only, unfortunately, because someone, if you can come up with a low latency solution for playing couch games over network, I will literally kiss you on the dick. But
it does require the elusive latest.
You heard it here. It's Patreon gold.
Yes.
Anyways, yeah, it probably helps having another player drawing aggro because there's just too many people that get you killed. But one thing that kind of interested me about this game was the Munchkin style. You get points for screwing over your friends, but at the same time you need their help. So you want to kind of like subtly betray them and then claim their victory, which is kind of nice. But Munchkin has the monopoly effect of destroying friendships, so this might not be a game for you and people you actually like.
It definitely could be. One thing I noticed, because Pedro always talks about games that hit with like very little to no force, that I was like, I got a lot more flexibility on that. But when I was like, thwacking some baddies, I was like, yeah, technically the sprite is moving over that other sprite.
This game, the only reason I even got remotely curious about it was because Magic Spell Studios is actually a branch of the Rochester Institute of Technology. Yeah. So I was kind of curious, like, okay, so it's a bunch of students or people who were students at Rochester University recently who decided to make a game. All right, I'm kind of curious, and
hey, sounds like a racing title we dealt with on
well that's kind of more getting to the point, because then you got the kids at uni that come out with something, the precursor to Distance, I forget, the Nitronic Rush.
Yes.
Then you got the kids from uni that come out with like this little bit of a prototype with a lot of colors on it that's maybe probably shouldn't be on Steam.
I haven't even tried it yet.
Okay.
The turn-based thing and the very clear hex grid that they have going on.
It's not turn-based.
It's not? Okay.
No.
Well, there goes a bit of my interest right then and there.
Well, that can be said for a great deal many things. But coming up next, we discuss processors and why you're going to switch to Team Blue eventually, whether you like it or not.
Hey, would you look at the time? It's some news time. Yes, I said time twice. Well, I cocked that one up. But hey, before we get into the news, there are some very special people we'd like to thank this week.
Yeah, you see, the show is fueled on many things: the souls of the innocent, mayonnaise, and your fine donations and your support.
Booze.
And
A lot of booze.
yeah, and you can help support us by helping fund the vast quantities of mayo that we consume over the course of a recording by heading on over to patreon.com/LinuxGameCast. I was about to say Cocaine Voltron, but that's the wrong site. We have we're at 90 backers now. We're pulling in 160 an episode. That's pretty good. We're a little bit away from our next goal. Frequent streams on Tuesday and Friday, or Monday and Friday. We'll schedule to be determined.
Just $15 away, and it doesn't necessarily have to be gaming, because that's also going to let us prototype some new shows.
Yeah, we can do all sorts of things. It could just be like us bullshitting for all we know. Either way, that is definitely a thing. Also, if we can get it up to the next level, you can force me to suffer through the entirety of Zero Sam 3. But we have some fine people we'd like to thank. Benjamin P. subscribe to the Plug Your Wares level, and remember, we will actually do it. If you subscribe to that level on Patreon and you give us something you want to plug, we'll fucking do it.
That level or above, think about it. I mean, if you're currently a Patreon, because trust, wouldn't you love your own little LGC commercial for your product or maybe friend you don't particularly like?
Mm-hmm, yeah. And Joseph C kicked in over PayPal, because you can always head on over to linuxgamecast.com/support the shows, and we got some Amazon affiliate links and some PayPal buttons if you don't want to go the Patreon route. But all support is appreciated. If you just spread the word, tell your Linux using friends, tell your Mac using friends that if they want to play games, they should probably come over to Linux, because more games are being released on Linux.
But Pedro, what if they're not into the gaming and they just want to learn about regular Linux stuff?
Well, then they can check out that other show. They might tune in on,
say, Wednesday, when we do that little thing that, in my opinion, is still a working title, but we call it Linux Weekly Daily Wednesday. You can actually get some regular old Linuxy news. It's like an extended news segment without the cussing.
And one thing, definitely with the show notes, check that business out at that level, because we have enabled comments. Lads, that's kind of neat, being able to get direct feedback as we're doing the show during the week, right?
We'll mention it again in the contact session, but if you want to get in touch with us, Patreon's the best way to do it.
Okay.
But let's kick it off. Our buddies at PC Perspective, Mr. Schrute, was writing about the new Intel generation, or the new Intel architecture, Kaby Lake, or whatever you want, the hell, Katy Perry Lake, whatever you want to call it. We got some previews for the U series, which are the ones that you would typically find in enterprise notebooks or some of the higher end regular notebooks. It looks like there's not much of a change over Skylake. They've apparently improved their manufacturing process to get some power saving mojo going, and they've overhauled the multimedia engine, but for the most part it is still mostly Skylake. I really hope they fix the math bug. And,
yeah, that's true. One thing that they did say that they kind of made a, I think, overly big deal. It was like 4K. This thing can play 4K videos for a year on 4 volts or something like that. And
I mean, for a laptop chip, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's an Intel chip. I mean, even the current generation Iris Pro chips from the Core i7s can do that with relative ease. The biggest thing, though, with Kaby Lake specifically was they were saying that they were going to be adhering to the new 10 nanometer process. That's been confirmed. That's not going to be the case. It's still a 14 nanometer FinFET process. Remains to be seen if Intel can actually pull off the 10 nanometers for the desktop parts when they do come out in 2017. We'll hopefully still be around to cover that. Hopefully.
Unless AMD really comes up with something serious, because I think you could rephrase those like, then Intel might unbox the 10 nanometer parts they have sitting in the back of the warehouse.
Yeah, probably. So the other big thing about this Kaby Lake release marks the end of the TikTok release cycle. Mm-hmm. So that means that we're going to be getting fewer and fewer architecture outright refreshes as time goes on, because we're sort of hitting the wall of what we can do with x86 and manufacturing processes.
Those law is coming to an end.
Before your processor just simply becomes an electromagnetic interference device.
Hey man, it also does the 4K VP9 support on YouTube now. If it we just got some hardware acceleration for the encoding that nightmare fuel that we could probably.
In Windows, you do get Intel QuickSync. That's never made it to Linux, though.
Maybe because they're not fast enough. But speaking of speedy processors, there may be a shadow of a doubt over the new Zen architecture. Yeah,
a teeny tiny shadow. Yes. So, Mr. Paulo Santos, that's a very Portuguese sounding name, so I'm just going to pronounce it like that. He said, AMD, more confirmations of Zen troubles. And this comes from seekingalpha.com, which is one of those weird websites that you have to log in order to read the whole thing. And I did, because I was kind of curious to see what he had to say. And what he had to say was just confirmation bias. A lot of it, actually. The entire article is confirmation bias. And yeah, he mentions a couple of graphics, a couple of graphs that were shared by WCCF Tech and a few other websites regarding the Zen performance, and comparing like the official AMD graphs with those ran by a couple of people that had access to Zen, the production
it was
Zen
be
chips.
Manatees. Go ahead.
Yeah, and like the Ashes of the Singularity performance, there were like two major, the main ones that were covered by WCCF Tech were the Ashes of the Singularity benchmark tests that they did. And one of the graphs revealed that Zen wasn't doing all that well when compared to the Intel Broadwell E series, which are the 5900s of the past generation. And the other graph of Ashes of the Singularity actually confirms that Zen does have a big improvement, while the first one doesn't say that it has that big an improvement. Now, it points one of those two tests is basically the basis of this entire article. And nowhere in the whole thing was that second test mentioned in any way. I don't know how Zen is going to perform, and at this point no one does. And given how AMD decided to present the initial test with a Blender benchmark of all things, and not provide either the render file or the system specs, it's probably safe to assume that it's going to be a disappointment.
Yeah, a little bit of a disappointment when you're thinking about it. It's AMD, the people that are kind of known for coming right out of the gate of overpromising and underselling. Finn, you're an Intel fanboy. And it's like, nope, I've only bought AMD processors for my desktop since the K5. You don't have that type of street cred, son, so get out of my face, Oregon.
I've been burned by AMD's overpromising. I bought into the whole bulldozer would be amazing thing, and then I stuck with my 1090Ti for another 4 years on top of that. So
yeah,
we may get the straight up performance increase over the bulldozer, pile driver, excavator, whatever. But I'm honestly interested to see how it stacks up with current gen Intel processors.
We're
not going to get any concrete data
AMD,
like an actual release.
AMD is promising a big IPC increase when it comes to their new Zen processors, and we don't have anything to go on outside of that Blender test and a couple of PC Mark tests that they ran. But this article in specific, writing a highly speculative argument, because it's not even an article itself, it's just an argument based on two graphs,
you might say,
which we know little to nothing about, and refusing to even address the evidence that's trying to pass it off as confirmation of low performance. It's just outright disingenuous. Don't do it.
Up next, let's get off that topic.
All right, the Unity engine. We shit on it a lot because there's nothing wrong with the tool. As I say, it's not the tool that's the issue; it's the tool who uses the tool. Unity has done some good stuff, but such as release a Linux version of the editor. But this is a significant milestone because now there is a unified code base between the Windows, Mac, and Linux versions of the Unity editor, as opposed to the Linux version was they forked the Windows code, got it working, applied whatever black magic voodoo patch they needed to get it up and running, and then shipped it. Now it's all the same code base, which is, I've been screaming this for the past couple episodes, is a fantastic idea, because now any improvements you make to the engine cascade to all platforms, and it makes you write cleaner code. You have less branching bullshit, and it's infinitely more maintainable if you want to start supporting other platforms, i.e. if Unity ever wants to support FreeBSD or Haiku or whatever.
Ketchup,
and hopefully with this we should start seeing more regular releases of the Linux version.
Good on them. Again, I've never really had anything against Unity itself. I always said the project is neat, almost to a fault, because it makes it easy enough for, your average glue stick munching troglodyte to turn out shovelware. And now we know that, Linux has actually made it as a desktop operating system because we get shovelware every single day in the new games category on Steam.
Like a lot. And I've already asked this question, but at what point does it stop being, the tool that uses a tool that is the problem? And the problem isn't just the tool itself that enables really stupid people to make their own game.
Tuesday, 4 p.m.
You
2036.
you can shoot yourself in the foot all you want, but that just means that you don't know anything about gun safety. It's the same thing with being a programmer. You can write shitty code, it just means you're a shitty coder.
Okay, well, let's quit being down. Let's pick up our...
All right. So, way back when the whole Steam Machine thing became a big deal and Valve was, quote unquote, promoting it, we were given a promise, rather unfounded one, that The Witcher 3,
Is this fucking really their color scheme, like slightly under gray than on gray?
Yes.
Yeah, gray and slightly less gray with a bit of yellow accents.
Okay, I just disabled. Yeah, okay, go ahead. Sorry.
All right. Anyways, so, there was a lot of hype because The Witcher 3 was a very well-received game. I got a free copy of it with my 980. Like, it was all over the place. And people are like, oh man, it's going to be coming to Linux. It's going to be great. We're totally going to forget about that other Witcher game that got released that wasn't all that good and didn't really quite work for a couple months. But, this is a request thread on the GOG forums for a Linux port, but it has been nixed because we have word of God stating there is no plan to ever port The Witcher 3.
Oh yeah, no, they screeched on that right quick, because after a couple of days, GOG support went, I apologize for my colleague's response. I have no idea how she could have arrived at such a response.
Mainly because we don't have any developers actively working on The Witcher 3 for Linux project.
Yeah, it's the link I posted immediately after that, and GOG support just went, we are in no position to know CDPR's exact plans, and especially whether or not any plans are on the table on their end at any time. Therefore, please disregard my colleague's original message. So yeah, this is basically GOG support going, CDPR may own GOG, but we don't actually know, so please don't take that one at face value.
I'm sure this was like the result of some sort of water cooler talk, but really the only realistic way we're going to be playing Witcher 3 on Linux is when we have good wine support for DX11. Speaking of which...
Wait a minute, before you finish on that story, I want to get my tree fitty in. The moral of that story, at the end of the day, I do believe is tech support. Usually hired, if I need tech support or call people... I go to like the local, rent-a-person place and get them. They're usually not, best bros with a development team or the parent company that you may call. So keep that in mind next time somebody's from tech support says something that they probably don't fucking know about. All right.
Yeah,
perhaps, but,
so
no point in whining about it.
Let's whine about it some more, because Wine 1.9.18 is now available. And the new release bullet points are like support for multiple kernel drivers in a single process, more web services, reader support, various improvements in joystick support. What does that mean? I don't know. Some more work towards Direct 3D command stream, GDI performance
this is one of those releases where they just kind of fix a bunch of little stuff and it doesn't really change anything. But didn't they say something last week? I don't think you were here. I forget when you're here or not, Pedro. About the Elder Scroll thingy online working again?
Yes, they did. The Elder Scrolls Online, since they nixed the OpenGL, DirectX 9, and DirectX 10 renderers, it only works with DX11. Now it works with DX11. You can actually start ESO with Wine, but there are some textures / shaders which don't work properly yet, so you get a lot of visual artifacting, as it were. But
that's still pretty
release,
impressive considering they only really started DirectX 11 work earlier this year.
Yeah. And this new release, the GDI performance improvements and the command stream stuff, it just means better performance all around, and even more DirectX 11 stuff is now supported. So that's good. I
might be able to play The Witcher 3 yet. Woohoo!
Not yet, but they did fix an NTDLL regression, which caused some games to not work anymore. No Man's Sky was one of those.
Okay.
No Man's Sky?
Sounds
No Man's
brilliant.
Sky, yes.
So the thing's never worked for you?
Yeah, no, it's never really gotten past the intro cutscene where it has no shaders.
What at, Pedro? What at?
Yeah, so this is OpenRW. It's the open source engine re-implementation for GTA 3. And that's a good base to start, because once you get GTA 3, it's just a couple of lines of code away from GTA Vice City and GTA San Andreas. Now, they say that they have some missions that you can actually play at this point. Like the first one, Gimme Liberty, when it's immediately after the original cutscene. You just go into the safe house and that's the mission, period. Then you get the Luigi missions and a couple of further ones down the line. But they didn't work for me.
Oh, come on, Pedro. I wanted the soundbite of you saying farewell, Chunky Lee Chong.
No. For me, building in from sauce gives me the same behavior as it did with the original release.
So how do I go about this? Do I need the original art assets?
You need the original data from either Steam or like the CD version.
Okay.
You just point once you build the executable, you just point it at the folder where where the original assets are, and it'll work. But for me, building in from sauce gives me the same behavior as before. It stops right after the initial cutscene, which has no shaders. It looks really weird. And then it just stops there and just standing there. So apparently I'm doing something wrong, and I couldn't for the life of me figure out what.
Did it really look this bad?
I'm looking forward to when this progresses, because I love GTA 3 and Vice City, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it had a bit more shaders, and there was some distance culling, which is not present in this version whatsoever. The graphics just stop at one point.
Well, okay, once we get this up and running, we can use this next application to possibly do we really don't know what with it, right?
Oh, okay. So this was a bit confusing. I had to do some reading in order to fully grok this. This is the OBS Qt WebKit, because, we integrated OBS into our production chain now. You're viewing this via OBS right now. This is a extension for OBS Studio, which is the fork of the original Open Broadcaster system. This is essentially a implementation of WebKit done in Qt, specifically for OBS. So you can load web pages directly into OBS, so you don't have to capture them via gathering a screen region. I mean, so Pedro and I were talking about this. Apparently, if you're like a CSGO gambling streamer, then this is super handy for getting the new subscriber things, or integrating dynamic web pages into your stream. So that's a thing. I guess.
Wait, Pedro, couldn't this also be used for I got a message on Twitch one time, and it was like, I really like your show and all that, but you need to have all that bullshit that Twitch streamers have on. And he was like, but if you only had that, then I could donate to you.
Yeah, you could actually have that bullshit. If you have any web development background, you could make a teeny tiny HTML file with all that fancy bullshit, as it were. And you could load it directly into OBS, even with an alpha channel, a proper transparency layer. You could just load it directly into OBS, and it wouldn't look like just a cropped screen region that looks kind of out of place. This will do that, although you can't really interact with the web page. That's one of the caveats at this point. I don't know why you'd want to interact with it, because it's just OBS rendering it into
That's
the
definitely
output.
where I'm at right now. send us a note if you know what, like, hit us with that use case that is escaping all three of us.
I mean, there's arguably demand for it because someone went and wrote it, but, you know.
Apparently,
that's a pretty fucking flimsy argument.
The only thing being wasted is the dev's time, so.
All right. So, we got to talk about this.
Let's close it off with some controversy.
Okay, a little bit of controversy, if we will. YouTube decided to enforce some changes, which is well within its rights.
Changes.
Ian Miles, fuck that last name. I'm just going to give him credit because this is where I first saw it. Is it their new
Chong? It's less complicated than my last name. Jeez.
Whatever, Quang. Terms of service for monetization. They've added, well, not really added, but they're now selectively enforcing, I believe. Sexually suggestive content, violence, inappropriate language. I mean, fucking inappropriate language. Promotion of drugs and
cocaine.
Controversy or sensitive subject events. Isn't 9/11 coming up? Including subjects related to war, political conflicts, vote Trump, natural disasters.
9/11's coming up.
Wait, hold on, Pedro. Get your hat quickly right now. Do it. Before we switch back to you, run and grab your hat because we need to try and monetize the shit out of this video and make it impossible to do that through YouTube.
Now, my first question to you, J-Man, is how do they plan on? They've already shown that they're rolling this out. We'll enforce this where we feel like doing this. It's not across the board.
Pretty much.
But like, how do you do it? Because the only thing they could ever ping us on would be like, oh, you're using naughty language. And it's like, what, we're not 12? Yeah, but you know what? We don't have a cartoon penguin mascot. We're not trying to attract kids. Look at our demo. It starts at 18 and ends at about 65. And we actually have 3% female, which I think kicks ass. How are they going to enforce that with their highly accurate closed captioning system that is the most hilarious fucking thing I've ever seen?
I don't know. Like, I would think maybe they have some sort of tattletale program where you can report users who are violating terms of service. Here's an idea, YouTube, though. How about you start putting those age disclaimers? I mean, it'll do about the same thing. They have to realize, of course, that this is going to kill a bunch of their major channels. A lot of their more successful channels fall under the bounds of shit that you can't monetize. But of course, YouTube is known for playing favorites. If they'll slap everyone with the DMCA unless you're one of their moneymakers. So I'm pretty sure that there's going to be some special exemptions negotiated under the table.
There might be. It probably will be. The easiest explanation, I've said that their current system right now operates off what hashtags you have for a video. So, if you got some stuff that might go, be, controversial or anything like that, it's going to kind of scan that, go against the ads and like, nope, you're going to be put over here in this category or just not monetized altogether. However, that said, here's something you got to remember. YouTube doesn't owe anyone a living at all. I mean, that's not their job. And if you are making a living off YouTube, your job, much like my job on Saturdays, is to sell advertisements. That's your job. Yeah. Now, we're not trying to sell ads here, which is kind of brilliant because we have Patreons helping back this Nightmare Fuel. And it's awesome because of that, we're able to host our own videos at no small cost. Since Genesis, we've never went all in on YouTube because they can pull asshattery like this for no reason, change the terms, tell you to suck a bag of dicks. I don't know how you'd suck a bag of dicks. Be careful. Keep
one at a time, maybe.
Yeah, don't be greedy about it. There's nothing wrong with sucking a bag of dicks. You might look a bit weird.
Take your time. I mean, no rush. You might choke.
Yeah, no, I kind of wonder how this is going to affect PewDiePie because PewDiePie had that one... Yeah, he had that one big controversy, which was he made a rape joke. Yes. How's that going to fly in the face of the new terms of service?
Well, like I was saying, there's probably going to be some special exemptions for their big money makers, because again, YouTube plays favorites. But I mean, then I agree with you up to a point because it's YouTube's job to sell ads, and as a content creator on YouTube, your job is to sell ads or figure out some other alternate way to monetize things. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, without these content creators, YouTube has a much harder time making money and staying afloat because they're already operating at a loss.
Well, they sort of definitely been operating at a loss. Now, I think that's what's got to come to the head because a lot of people are calling it like, oh, it's a red herring. If people don't like it, they'll leave YouTube. And I was like, that's not a red herring. That's what That's who people, if they're like, oh, you can't post videos on YouTube anymore, I'll be like, whatevs.
Vimeo.
And if you're not on YouTube, how the hell are you going to keep on making a living?
And Vimeo's awesome. They do allow nudity, all that glorious.
Oh yeah, that's amazing.
So
by the way, we're posting a special version of this show on Vimeo. I have some surprises for you.
You spin me. All right, get us out of here.
But speaking of small worms, that'll segue us over to the CHAIRQUISITION, where we're going to talk about squirming around a bunch. Well, it's not about computer viruses, but we are talking about worms. This is Worms of Mass Destruction, developed by Team 17 on a completely new engine designed to perfectly emulate the old one, end quote. It's about $30, which is more than I paid for a Worms game back in the day when Worms was actually popular. But what is it? Worms are back in their most destructive game ever with a gorgeous hand-drawn 2D look, brand new weapons, and the introduction of crafting, vehicles, and buildings, plus the return of some much-loved classic weaponry and gameplay. Worms W.M.D. is the best Worms experience ever. And, full disclosure, they did send us keys. So let's kick off the CHAIRQUISITION. 1 chair means that it should be fed to the worms. 2 chairs means that it's meh. 3 chairs means that it's pretty good. And 4 chairs means that it needs to go in. The worm needs to go into a tequila bottle. We also got our categories of doom mixed with the working shiny sounds, controls, and fun. So then let's kick this off. Did Worms W.M.D. make with the working?
Initially, no, Brad, it did not. It failed miserably, horribly, and without explanation. Then I opened it in the folder, and it just ran. Now, we did touch on this last week when the game was released, just setting your LD library path, because, who needs any pesky things like Steam Runtime in 2016? I gotta really respect this development team, being brave like that. That's a pretty tricksy move. But that will manage to get it to run on the system that they tested it on, which it does not run on. Out of the box, the Ubuntu 1404 LTS. That's the box of business here, with a 980 displayed at the 4K's UHD, as some people like to call it. Now, we do talk about the performance. Didn't even bother to try it out at UHD. I was just running it at 1080, and it somehow manages to be just a little bit choppy while panning and scrolling. Not really so much with the zooming on that 980, which just a bit perplexing. I would tell you how many FERPs we were getting, but it doesn't support Steam Overlay. But considering it doesn't support Steam Runtime, I was like, yeah, it probably doesn't. However, unlike these other 2 yahoos, pretty playable. So I'm giving it a solid 3.
All right, so this is the longest spiel I'm going to have in this review, so I got to make it count. So from the beginning, like Ben said, not tested against Steam Runtime, which is a bad thing. There are missing some libraries, consequently, if you are running this on non-Ubuntu-based systems. You got to go to the games directory. After installing the ZFS Stream package and libcurl in Fedora, you need to create some symbolic links. I included what you need to do in the notes, so you guys can just copy-paste out of it. And after all of that, the game will launch. It will bring me to this game uses an autosave feature, and then segfault. And I tried to get this working. Oh my, did I try. I cleared library paths, I set environment variables, I sent Team 17 a bunch of information to help them out, and nada. I kept poking at it up until a few minutes before we started recording, and nothing. So, yeah, I gotta give this 1 chair, because it don't work on non-Ubuntu based distributions. There's a few threads of this in their support forums. Yeah, garbage.
Yeah, it doesn't even work on Ubuntu-based distributions out of the box. That's a really big one, because I'm running Ubuntu made 1604 with the FX8370E and the GTX 1080, and on my end, it doesn't save custom teams, though I'm guessing that's because it core dumps whenever you exit the game. Even if you exit naturally, the way the process actually ends is through a core dump. The UI is flaky at best and borderline unusable at worst. The game will freeze the moment you press a button in game proper on your controller or your keyboard, or if you even so much as move the mouse, if you have a non-English locale set in your particular flavor of Linux. Now, the sound itself, go ahead and add a nice dose of buffer underruns, because I made the mistake of trying to launch this game while I was listening to a YouTube video. It's horrible. But on my end, I managed to sort everything out by adding export LC underscore all equals C, which basically just sets all the locales to C, which is the like the default base one. It's just English, basically. And export pulse latency MSEC60 and export LD library path 0. So yeah,
just check the show notes.
Yeah, just check the show notes. Everything will be there. You can just copy paste that into run.sh. It's easy. These changes though will get noped the moment the game gets updated. So after everything I had to go through to just get the game to even start, I have to give it 1 chair.
So I should also mention, I forgot to say that during my segment, I tested it on both the TV box run with the AMD A10 5800K with the GTX 750 Ti and the i7 6700K with the 980. So, 1 chair for mix with the working. This is actually a first, I think. Let's move on to Shiny and Sounds. Then
Shiny and Sounds more like short and sweet. It looks a lot like, well, Worms. A darker, grittier version of Worms Reloaded, and that's not necessarily a bad thing at the end of the day. Each theater of war, it is hella detailed. They didn't spare any cost doing that, because they sure want to charge you for it. It looks nice, along with all the weapons of mass destruction. Kind of beautiful. I mean, just really liking that. Worm animations. We got to talk about that, I guess. They retain the original charm found in the earlier games. That's good. Nothing new. Nothing's going to blow you away. If we get to the noise really only got my attention one time. The one time it did was the bad rapping level with the bad rapping voices that made me want to stab my brain organ with a Q-tip. And I almost did. After that, nope the headphones, put on a bit of Slayer as one is to do. That's it. Everything you would expect from a Worm game, it's here. If that's what you're looking for, you got it. But it doesn't necessarily improve on anything. It's a lot less cartoony than the previous Worms. That's really all I can say about it. Not bad, not great. Definitely, solid 3.
Well, the text that reads segmentation fault core dump is super crystal clear, so I got to give it points for that. 1 chair.
Yeah, no, it's Worms, right down to the selection of slightly different high-pitched utterances. If you've played a Worms game before, you know exactly what to expect, unless you have a non-English locale set, at which point you can't even see the UI properly. 2 chairs.
All right, well, that's 2 chairs for Shiny and Sounds. Controls, Ven, how did it work?
Works out of the box with the Xclone 360 controller, no issues whatsoever. Piece of cake, and so it's 3 chairs plus 1 because I forgot to load 4 because I didn't think we would ever need it for this game.
Oh, snap. Yeah, no, it controls awesomely until it crashes, which is before you can even use the control, so 1 chair.
Yeah, no, the controls on my end would freeze the game because of the locale issue. That's not a problem with the input system itself or even the mechanics of the game. It's just a technical issue with the engine. So I can't really ding at chairs in the controls specifically. Now, it does work with the Logitech F310, the Mistress, and the NVIDIA Shield controller. All of these work just fine, so I'm guessing they're using some form of SDL in one shape or another. But you can also play the game just fine with the keyboard and gerbil. So for me, it gets 4 chairs. You can rebind it all. Still, pretty awesome.
Well, no, that's 3 chairs for Control. Up next is Fun. Ven, did you enjoy Worms?
Absolutely. Maybe. I don't know. Here's the thing. Let's just get this out of the way because it's going to be very short. The multiplayer is Linux only. This game is absolutely dead on arrival, out of the box. Life expectancy for this worm is not. It is no more. It is practically deceased. the single player, yes, it does exist, but, if the AI is not busy killing itself, it's flipping the hell out. One of the two, or taking forever just to do some basic decisions and shoot back in your general direction. So all you're going to get out of that is a light training scenario at best and just mind-numbing boredom at worst. I made it through quite a few of the campaigns. At no point I was like, whoa, this is challenging. It's like, okay, me and Pedro. I was like, Pedro, play with me. So we did that. Then we decided to have some Worms multiplayer action after. And hey, it worked. I probably would like to think that we have like the Space Odyssey, because we're probably the only two people who have yet on Linux to play it on multiplayer, because all you're going to find is an empty lobby. That's it. You can't even play with your Mac brother and sisters. That sucks. If you are playing the single-player game, it's Worms. There's nothing new here to see. Oh, but then there's crafting. Yes, technically they added it in a crafting mechanic that you'll only need when the game's like, hey, you need to craft something because reasons, and we put it in the game. It's like, but it was like, shut up and craft something. Fuck you, game. Seriously. Still going to give it 2. Really wanted to give it like 1 with an asteroid, simply because the fuck you pricing.
Yeah, see, I actually like Worms. I played a lot of it in high school. I have a good amount of emotional investment in Worms, and I wanted to like this game. I was actually excited when we were reviewing it because I was like, oh yeah, I love Worms. Unfortunately, as you heard before, I cannot play this game, so I cannot give it anything other than 1 share.
Yeah, it's Worms, though. It's if you've played a Worms game before, I remember playing the original Worms on the Sega Saturn. Yeah, it's Worms. It's got a bit more detailed graphics going on, but nothing to write home about. You already know whether or not you like this game. The additions to this particular title don't really seem all that important. Speaking of which, I can imagine... I kind of imagine... I can sort of see it, how it went during development when they decided on set additions. It's like... oh, what's the hot new craze in gaming mechanics nowadays? And another developer went like, roguelike mechanics? No. We already have randomly generated maps. Crafting? Genius! How do we work that in the game? Well, we'll have the players collect the bits of weapons they want to craft in crates. Won't that just mean that matches will be played all the way through without a single crafted weapon ever be created, let alone used? Oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you over this massive erection. Yeah, that's kind of how it goes, because you can go through entire matches like I did with Ven. If you're watching the produced version, you can actually see us playing right there. I didn't craft a single weapon. Ven didn't craft a single weapon. It's pointless. Take any Worms game, a 2D one, because the 3D ones don't exist in my book. At crafting, drivable vehicles lifted directly from Metal Slug, and turrets, for what they're worth, add a nice dose of technical issues and a lack of cross-platform multiplayer. What do you get? 1 share.
Oh man, that's 1 share for fun, and that wraps up to being a 1 share game for Worms WMD. Now let's just make this a cautionary tale. QA your game before you release it, and maybe if your emphasis is on multiplayer, make sure that you can play it between operating systems, because it's not that hard. Lots of people have figured it out. There's a ton of pre-existing frameworks to do just that.
Indeed, at the end of the day, and also, I understand it's a very niche title, and it's also priced like one. You're not going to get Linux sales. Well, you might. Some people just want to play. I understand. Somebody is screaming into their monitor and it's like, but I only care about. That's brilliant. I mean, if you want to drop $29.99, here the developer's like, how dare you say it? It's like, listen, man, to me, it's not worth that. I'm not a huge fan of the Worms series. I don't have anything personally against it, but I didn't grow up with it. I can take it or fucking leave it, and this I have chosen to fucking leave.
Yeah, seriously, there is absolutely no point out of playing this game than the first time you try.
Oh, by the way, thanks guys for sending us keys.
Yes, thank you Team 17, but there's absolutely no point to playing this game after you've tried it and you see, oh, okay, it's more worms, but it's riddled with technical issues.
It's
and
like the one game you would want to play with randos, and there's no randos to play with.
I just spent 1 hour trying to figure out how to get your fucking game to start without any issues actually getting in my way, like to the point where if I select something in the UI, it just goes invisible. What the fuck? No, that's bad.
Yeah, so that wraps up the review segment. Worms, W.M.D, sorry, just don't buy it. Coming up next, we got a fairly beefy hate mail section where we're going to talk about Static X because we need more Evil Disco.
Moo.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you should totally be watching us live. It's the hate mail. Yes, I'm back, and it's my favorite, personal favorite time of the show. If you'd like to get in touch with us, go on over to LinuxGameCast.com, hit the contact button on the nav bar, fill out the form. It's pretty easy. If you see this post show up on Patreon, on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, just track down the original share and leave us a comment there. Chances are we'll probably get back to you right then and there. If not, we'll probably feature it on the show. All right, so this week, what do we got? Shadow Warrior. Ooh.
Yeah, this is from Radioslav, and he says, Shadow Warrior 2 removed the SteamOS icon from Steam, just FYI.
Yes, they did. The Shadow Warrior 2, they had the SteamOS icon before the pre-orders actually started, but there was a bit of a snafu between the developer and the publisher who's actually managing the Steam page. And the developer said, oh yeah, no, the Linux version's not going to be ready for release day 1 as it may be. So they didn't put the SteamOS or the Mac icon for that matter up there. That's good.
Well, you know, there's different ways to look at that. Some might call it a bird culture type move to have it up there for so many months and be like, hey, we're taking pre-orders except for Linux users.
Well, that's the thing. They weren't taking pre-orders while the SteamOS icon was there. Now
Well,
they are, and they...
You have to listen to the words that are coming out of my mouth, all right? It's, yeah, now that they are taking pre-orders, yoink, yep.
Yeah, it's, that's probably an indication that it won't be out in day 1, which, in a way, I can sort of see, maybe, because OpenGL is hard.
Dude,
I get it.
Dude, if they're not taking pre-orders, I mean, come on. In 2016, the way things are pre-ordered now, if they're not
this
like
is
reaching out, trying
digital.
to get their hands on that money, like, come on, give us all the pre-orders.
This isn't EA.
Then listen,
this
there is a
Ubisoft.
finite number
This is
of
Devolver
bits
Digital
on the internet, and you have to pre-order them to reserve your bits, man. That's how it works, right?
No, Devolver Digital has actually been good with the whole pre-order thing, and they've actually been pretty good with the Linux support.
Well, Pedro, how many years did it take for the original Shadow Warrior to get ported to Linux?
One?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if they have the same guy that they did for the last Shadow Warrior port, I'm really not concerned because he did a fantastic job. Aside from it noping my old processor box, it doesn't do that anymore. So yeah,
it doesn't do that because you have an Intel Skylake processor. As somebody who will have a box that got hard locked, and hopefully will not get hard locked in the new version, I don't know. I mean, I don't have anything bad to say. Yeah, it was cute. You know, watching everyone run in there and it's like, Wah! And I was like, listen, man, they never said it was coming out. Also, you know, period. So chill with that.
Also never pre-order.
So him.
Yeah.
Is this the actual him from Powerpuff Girls?
Or maybe it's the him from the band him. Who knows? But he says
him Hortons, as in Tim Hortons with the T and the H reverse.
That's stretching. Anyway.
Him Tortons.
Says
Him
found. Damn. I just stumbled upon this channel, but the fact that you made a Static X reference means I already loves you. Definitely talking about probably a game we did last week when
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago when you Wisconsin death tripped all over that intro.
Yeah, Death Road to Canada, and you can always count on me for the choicest of your early '80s music references,
Pedro,
or obscure metal ones.
Hints, cares?
I don't really listen to Static X ever.
Okay, too busy with the Backstreet Boys. Now, Flames.
All right, so no flames. Frustrated Patreon would like to ask for Steam help. I've attempted to download Bound by Flame for my home, and it's only 7 megabytes. I'm now in a different country, and it's still only 7 megabytes, as I thought it was a local repo problem. Any clues? And also, are you able to still download it? From Lockdonen. Hey, Lockdonen, the guy who actually funded the mistress right here. Yeah, no, the game downloads fine on my end. It's 4.1 gigabyte download. You could try changing the download region in the Steam settings to Spain and Portugal. That's the server I use.
Though it will cause your game to download with a bunch of tacos, so...
No, it really doesn't do anything different because the language that the game starts with is actually dependent on the language you have set in the Steam UI, so that's...
Whoosh! Whoosh!
No, I'm not putting that hat back on. Fuck you.
I definitely tried it here, and yeah, it was like a 4.1 gigajoule download. And if you're not a metered bandwidth, usually my solution for any problem Steam related is scorched earth. Just wipe it and reinstall it. But it might be worth pinging. I mean, do what Pedro said. I mean, try changing. I didn't think to hit you with that.
I mean,
better yet. Main reason I wanted to put this over in the hate mail section was maybe someone has had an experience like this and would like to send us
more
a solution. Yeah.
Or I mean, worst comes to worst, just go send an email to the devs. Like, be more than happy to help you out, probably.
And if it is, in the off chance that it is a Steam Depot issue, you may want to get in touch with Steam, although good luck with that.
Yeah, you're better off going through the devs. Yeah.
So apparently one of the developers or the developer of Speedrunners from
Sue, yes,
decided to chat with us. Did he? He writes,
Boris,
did you know that there are more people... He probably didn't say it like this. I'm just reading it like this. In this video, he's talking about our review of Speedrunners from Hell. Then there are game developers who made Sium. Thank you for the review. Boris. Commodore Boris. Yeah, it's kind of like I just wrote you back, man. I was like, same thing goes for Axiom Verge and Dust and Elysian Tale, son.
Dust and Elysian Tale had one developer and one porter.
But, I mean, thanks for the watch and the gold chain and the Adidas jumpsuit, man. That was like super sweet.
Yeah, maybe you could take some of the criticism, apply it to the next game. I mean,
definitely.
Yeah.
I actually thought, he was like, hey, man, thanks for taking a look at it. But, I mean, you probably don't want to walk in to this nightmare fucking nest and be like, well, there's only 1 or 2 people developing. I was like, yeah, we've seen better come from less, so fuck off.
Yeah.
We've seen better come from part-timers or volunteers.
This is true.
So I mean, but
then again, there was that NASA person who made a game that only got 2 chairs, Terry.
And on that bombshell, let's cue the music. You can always find us around 9:30 Eastern Time. Type that into Googs. It might give you some idea when this train takes off from the station. I'm at Vince Stone on the Twitter, and that's plus Vince Stone on the G+. Scream at me there, and I'll probably scream back in your direction. Just keep in mind, if you message me on the Steam in the chat thing, and I don't get back to you, that's your own damn fault.
I'm Jordan Svung. You can find me live via satellite on Twitter at The Burning Pool or plus Jordan Svung on the Google+.
And you can find me all the way across the pond, aka the Atlantic frickin' Ocean. I am Pedro Matheus. You can find me at Unaccounted For with a U on Twitter or plus Pedro Matheus on Google+.
Yeah, so I guess at the end of the day, we can just be grateful that we were nowhere near a SpaceX rocket this week.
Hashtag blam.
Yeah, no, that was bad.
That was bad, okay.
That was bad.
Slightly less bad than worms.
You could actually, well, then again, it was like $220 million internet satellite from Facebook. They were like, fuck! But then they were like,
well, it was about as bad as Worms because it did blow up as it was taken off.
well, Jordan has the same thing. It didn't work.
5 dudes.